This is a local variable within the block. Okay, you can take any variable name you want, you can take. Okay, so yeah, not in the same memory, any one will be caught, okay, and it will be handled. If any one exception, one catch block is handled, that's it, remaining catch block will not execute. Okay, so next here, so execution happens from top to bottom order. So after executing this, okay, control comes here, result is equal to 5/0. So the first statement itself gives the exception. Okay, the first statement, see, first statement is giving exception. Why we are getting the don't divide by 0? Why we are getting the reason don't divide by 0? Because first statement is throwing an exception. First statement is having a arithmetic exception. First statement is having a arithmetic exception. Okay, now here listen here. Since the first statement is having exception, it will create one throwable type and take the control to the catch blocks. It will take the control to the catch blocks. Okay, so after it takes the control to the catch block, no, that object or the exception will be thrown from top to bottom order. Why? Because at any catch block it can be caught. That exception which is throwing arithmetic exception type object, it is thrown, no, it can be caught to any catch block. So here first only we have arithmetic exception. First only we have arithmetic exception. So that arithmetic exception type throwable object is caught by the variable r. Is caught by the variable r and it is handled. So exception, first line exception is handled by the arithmetic exception variable r, and now here we have the reason don't divide by 0. We have the reason don't divide by 0. Okay, next here, after this, see, if we solve this problem, no, the next line exception occurs. If we solve this problem, in the next line error occurs, because see, first line if there is no error, second line it will go execute, and like that everything executes if there is no error. Everything will neatly executes until there is no error. But any first statement is having exception, it has been handled, that's it, the control didn't go for the remaining statements. Now first statement we shall handle. Okay, 5/2 we will give. So 5/2 we are giving, 2 2s are 4, 2 2s are 4. Okay, so we'll go for the output 2. Since we are not printing here, it will not be visible. Okay, now, okay, we shall print it. Okay, we shall print it here. Okay, so we shall print it here. Okay, now, so now here the first data what we are getting, the first line here we are getting r is equal to 5/2. So 2 2s are 4. So we will get the data 2 because the result is of int type. You will get the data 2, and in the next statement we are having an exception. What exception? We are having a string index. What we have? Null pointer exception we have. So here we will get a null pointer exception. Why? Because we are lower casing the null. Okay, null should not be lower cased. Okay, so that is why here we are lower casing, so that is a problem. Here first line neatly it will execute, okay, and it will go to next line. Now there is a problem. Now what happens, this statement, okay, this statement which is responsible for exception, it will create one throwable type object. Okay, it will create one throwable type object, and it will throw that object from top to bottom order. Okay, when you are throwing the object, obviously you are throwing the reference of the object, so it will be thrown from top to bottom order. So first catch block is not caught. Okay, catch blocks it's not caught. Next control comes to the next catch block. Here null pointer exception is there, so it will be caught here. The throwable object will be caught here. Okay, now you will get an exception. Don't use null for the operations. Okay, now here if we execute, now I'll get the output. First output neatly will get. See here, first output neatly will get. Second output we are getting, don't use null for the operations. Why? Because null you can't uppercase, lowercase, do any operations with it. You can just use it for the removing an object. That's it. You can't do any other operations with that. Okay, so you don't use any null for any operations. So here what happens, first statement neatly it got executed. In second statement there is an exception. So here one throwable type object is created and it is throwing the exception to the null pointer exception to catch block. See, it is throwing to the first exception because the exception gets caught from top to bottom order. Now it is throwing exception from top to bottom order. We are throwing null pointer exception. We are throwing null pointer exception, but here it is arithmetic exception, so it will not be caught. Next, here control comes here. Since we have a null pointer exception here, control will be getting the exception here, and this catch block will catch the exception. Catch block will catch the exception and you will get the output. Don't use null for the operations. Don't use null for the operations. Okay. Next, here, suppose we will change that to some data. Okay. We'll reinitialize s to some data. S is equal to Kumari. Okay, already we have a. Shall go for Kumar. Now here, we shall check this to, we shall change this data to lowercase. Obviously we can do. So inside the first statement you are getting 2. Inside the second statement you are getting a Kumar in a lowercase fully. Now control comes to the third statement. Now here is a problem. Okay, here is a problem. So array of index 5. Array of index 5. So index 5 is not there. Only 0 to index 4 only is there. 0 to index 4 only is there. Index 5 is not there. So here you will get a array index out of bounds exception. First 2 lines neatly it will execute, and here you will get a array index out of bound exception. Now what happens? That exception will be created, okay, and a throwable type object will be created, and it will be thrown from top to bottom order, So here in the catch block, first here array index out of bound exception is there, so it will be coming to this catch block. Since it is arithmetic exception here, it will not be caught. So control goes to next exception. Here null pointer is there, it will not be caught. So control goes to next exception. Here is a array index out of bound exception. So this variable, that is catch block, catches the exception. Catch block catches the exception of array index out of bounds exception. Now it will tell the reason. Access the array elements within the limit. Access the array element. Access the array element within the limit. Okay. Now here we shall get the same output. We'll get these two output neatly. Okay, first this line, second two, these two lines output will get neatly. But here you get array index out of bound exception, and the exception will be caught here in the catch block, and you'll get the output. Access the array elements within the limit. And let us execute. So what you're getting? 2 you're getting, Kumar data neatly you're getting, and you're getting the output. Access the array elements within the limits. Access the array elements within the limits. So within the limits, neatly access. Okay. So here what we shall do is, we shall try to access till array index 4. You will be accessing. You will be able to access everything. Now what happens? When try block execute, this line will execute, output is 2. This line will execute. In a lowercase Kumar we will have. Here we will have the last indexed value. The last value is 5. Okay, you will have the 5. Array of index 4, you will have 5. Next, control comes here at the last. See, control came to the last line because in the first 3 lines here there is no exception. In the first 3 lines, there is no exceptions. So control comes to here. Okay, control comes to here. str.caret of 6. Now here we might get a string index out of bounds exception. Okay, we might get a string index out of bounds exception. So what happens? That exception will create one throwable type object, and it will be thrown for all the exceptions. All the catch blocks. Okay, so here string index out of bound exception will arise. It will create one throwable type object, and it will throw the exception, that is string index out of bound exception, to all the catch block. Okay. Now in the catch block here, now this string index out of bound exception will be creating a throwable type object. Now control comes to first catch block. So it is not caught here because it is arithmetic, and control comes to the next one. Here also catch block doesn't catch that exception because it's null pointer. So catch block catches, it doesn't catch us here because we have array index out of bound. So control goes to last one. Now here it is string index out of bounds exception. Here it is string index out of bounds exception, string index out of bound exception. Now control will be bringing that exception here. Now it will be caught here. That exception will be caught in this catch block. Now here you will get the exception, data output that please give the correct index number. Please give the correct index number we will get. So here because of this line, you will get all the remaining 3 lines correct output. Here you will get the exception, that is please give the correct index number. Okay, let me show you in the output. Okay, so you're getting all the data 2, Kumar 5, and you're getting the last data, that is please give the correct index number. Now if we give correct index number, nothing will happen now. See here, correct index number, if you give 5, 6 letters are there, 5 we have. Now there is no exception. See, there is no exception now. So neatly all the data is printed. Exception, see, if there is no exception, with the statement which is written in try block, then try block is just a normal block and all the statements inside that will neatly execute. But if there is an exception, the exception will be creating one throwable type object, whatever it is, and it will be thrown to the catch blocks from top to bottom order. It will be thrown to the catch blocks from top to bottom order. Okay, now guys, you tell me, as a developers, can we tell only these 4 exceptions only you will get? Can't. See, any software you take, okay, if you go to Google Play Store, okay, you will get whatever. Suppose you take Facebook or take Instagram, the famous apps, or take YouTube, one or the other query will be there, one or the other bug will be there. So these bugs are the unexpected uh, task which is done by the user. So we can't tell that we will get only these four kind of exceptions only. We can't tell that we will surely get these 4 kinds of exception only. As a developers, as a programmers, we have to make sure whatever kind of exception comes, everything should be handled. See, developers means developers doesn't know, developers are not God, developer doesn't know anything. Okay, if you are a new developer, so what will happen now? Listen everyone. So what will happen? We might not know from when and where the exception occurs. See, suppose you are writing username wrong. Okay, suppose you are writing username wrong. We will tell username wrong. That is an exception. If you're writing a password wrong, you'll write password is wrong. You'll get that output. That is also an exception. Now, some other button you have pressed, which should not be done. Okay, some other button you have pressed, and you are doing something you're doing on the application. Now application suddenly it gives some error called as something went wrong. Here the developer also doesn't know what went wrong. Here. After that they will get to know what went wrong. But if it is a new application, developers can expect that there might be a problem. For that they will create one more exception and they will write something went wrong. You'll see now 101 not found here, or 404 not found. Why you are getting this? Because we might get a problems which we didn't expect. So we have to be ready for all of them. 404 not found, 104 page not found, or something went wrong. Okay, these type of exceptions will happen. Now to handle all of the exceptions which will be taken, okay, what are the exceptions we might face in the future? To handle all of the exceptions, we have to follow some rule. Okay, we have to follow some rule. That is, if you're writing catch blocks, if you're writing multiple catch blocks, so you have to mention child exceptions on the top and the parent exceptions on the bottom. If you're writing multiple catch blocks, you have to mention child exceptions on the top, okay, and the parent exceptions at the bottom. But why? See guys, suppose assume there is one lion, okay, or okay, we shall take a tiger. Okay, so there is a female tigress and it has its cubs. Okay, small cubs are there. Now there is one small prey. Okay, there's one small prey here. Okay, which is swimming in the water, nearby water. Okay, now what happens? This tigress, mummy tigress, will tell to this child tigress. Okay, it will tell in its own language that go hunt this fish and come. But these cubs are very very small. Okay, because of the water current they will only float and go. Okay, so because of that fear they don't come here. Okay, if it is a small insect, they can eat. But if it is a fish which is going inside water, fishes are very spontaneous. So tigress, what it will do, it will say, okay, children are not able to catch it. Children are not able to catch it. So that time tigress only will come into action. It will catch the fish and it will solve the hunger of the kids. Here also same rule. So if you mention parent exceptions at the first, if you're mentioning parent exceptions at the first, parent exceptions will catch all kinds of exceptions. All kinds of exceptions. That time we will not know, really will not know what type of problem we got. We will just get something went wrong. Something went wrong only we will get. Okay, we have to know specific problem means first we have to write a child class exceptions. Then suppose that we got an exception which we don't know, that time you have to the control will go for the parent exceptions. Okay, so when you're telling parent exceptions, under throwable we have exception, under exception we have runtime exception. Okay, and under runtime we have arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, so on. So if you are writing these child exceptions, it will tell you correct reason for the exceptions. That is why we have to mention them first. We have to mention the child exceptions first, because they will give you the correct reason for the exception and where you've gone wrong. But if you're taking the parent exceptions, you're taking runtime exception or exception or throwable class at the first only. See, these are capable of solving any kind of exception. It is capable of handling any kind of exception. So we should not take this. We should not allow parent exception to handle the exception first. We have to allow the child exceptions to handle the exception, because we will know precisely what is the reason for the exception. Okay, if username is wrong, password is wrong, or whatever the data you entered is wrong, it cannot tell something went wrong. That will be not good. We have to tell username is wrong, password is wrong, whatever you entered is wrong. But if in case if you're entering wrong data, if it is showing something went wrong, then obviously it's a problem. Okay, it's not good. So to get a proper error, okay, to get a proper error output, we have to first write the child exceptions first, then you have to write the parent exceptions. Okay, so coming from top to bottom order. Okay, coming from top to bottom order. Okay, we have to write the child exceptions first, then you have to write the parent exceptions. Okay, now let us also do the same thing. What is this? Now, is there any other way to execute all catch blocks simultaneously in the future classes, or will do it? No, it is not possible to execute all catch blocks. We have created all catch blocks because to handle all kinds of exception. We might not know what exception we might get. Here we know because we have written the problems here. So here we will not know what kind of exceptions we will get. I mean, here we will know. In a real time, we will not know. So that is why only, okay, we have to give these many exceptions. We have created these many, and one catch block only will be executed always. That means only one error. Because of that error only, the execution of the application will stop. Execution execution of the application will stop because of that one exception or error. So by handling exception, we are making sure the catch block is executed and the remaining code, whatever is there below the catch block, is executed. Okay, so here the program execution started. Okay, let us hear. So here main starts, we shall give main starts, and here we'll give main ends. Main ends. Okay, now listen carefully. Here we execute the code now. See here, main starts, main end. So here, if there was an exception here, your last line would have not executed. The code will not end properly. Our main goal is to handle exception is we have to make sure leaving that exception, all other code should execute properly. The program should end properly. It should not stop abruptly. Program should not stop abruptly. Our main aim is to execute the code properly. Okay, now here we have the output. Now if you have an exception here, if you have an exception, the catch blocks is not there, the code will stop executing there only, in that line only. Okay, so that is why we go for a catch blocks. Now since we have 4 type of exception here, we might not know what kind of exception we will get in the future. So what we will do is we shall take the parent exceptions. Okay, parent exceptions is runtime exceptions. Okay, runtime exception. So here we can give whatever exceptions, I mean whatever the reason we want. We will mostly use reason is something went wrong. Mostly used reason, something went wrong. Here we had first parent here. Now let us take one more parent. Okay, let us take one more parent here. We shall take the exception as a parent. Okay, the exception as a parent we shall take here. So here also we will give the reason, that is something went wrong. Something went wrong. Okay, next here in the next catch block we shall go for throwable type exception. Okay, throwable type is a parent for all exception and error. We have given that only. Okay, we have given that only. So there is no other ways. Okay, there is no other ways for the application to stop suddenly. Application will not stop. Okay, here, but you'll get the output that something went wrong. Please try again after some time. Okay, so here something, it depends on the situation. What reason you want to give? No, that depends on the situation. Always remember, when you're writing a multiple catch blocks, okay, when you're writing multiple catch blocks, in the catch blocks first you have to write the child exceptions, then you have to write the parent exceptions. Suppose I am taking this throwable. See, throwable is parent. Okay, throwable is parent for all the exceptions. Throwable is parent for all the exceptions. See, suppose if I write in the starting itself, okay, suppose I am writing in the starting itself. Now what happens? It will catch all kinds of exceptions. It will catch all kinds of exceptions. So we will not know what is happening. It will catch all kinds of exception, and below statements will be unreachable. Below statements will be unreachable. See here, unreachable catch block for arithmetic exception. It is already handled by the catch block for throwable. So what does it mean here? The remaining catch blocks, whatever you have written, those are childs and they are unreachable because parent class throwable, parent exception class throwable has already handled it. So we should never write parent exception at the starting. You have to write at the end. Okay, you have to write at the end. Okay, so this is how your exception handling goes with the try with multiple catch blocks. Try with multiple catch blocks. Okay, I hope you guys got it. Everybody understood exception with multiple catch blocks? You guys got it? Okay, what about others? What is this? Don't use out of index value for string. Okay, yeah, Preeti, you can write whatever the reason, okay? But here you can write whatever reason, but in real time they will have some standard reasons and standard inputs and outputs which you have to follow. There it will be fine, okay? If you understood concept, that is fine. Okay, guys, next we shall go for your exception object propagation. Now let us learn the next concept, that is exception object propagation. Okay, yes. Okay, guys. Now, so always exception starts from, I mean, execution starts from main method. Always, always execution starts from main method. Execution starts from main method. Okay, fine. Suppose here we have one class. Okay, class 1. Now we have main method here. We have main method. Now inside the main method, we have a method called statement called as test method. Okay. Now in the same class, we have the test method also, static void test method. Now in the test method, we have one exception, that is 10 by 0. Okay. Now 10 by 0 will give arithmetic exception. 10 by 0 will give arithmetic exception. Now what happens is, now here there is an exception going on. Now execution will be start from JVM. Okay, JVM starts calls the main method. Execution starts from main method. Okay, now actual execution starts from main method. Control will go to test method. Now, so execution of this main method is paused. Now control will go to this actual test method. Now here it is. This statement is executed. Now after executing, here we have an exception. Here we have an exception which is not handled. Here we have an exception. Here we have an exception which is not handled. It is which is not handled. So exception is not handled here. Yes, it is not handled. Now what happens? Now there is an exception is, now control which came back to this method, it will go back to the caller of the test method. It will go back to the caller of the test method unhandled. Okay, unhandled. So this control, whenever exception occurs here without handling, so control goes back to the caller of the calling method, okay, along with that exception. This is called as exception object propagation. Exception object propagation. Okay, so let us understand it here. Okay, now here we have a calling method. We have a calling method. We have a called method. We have a called method. Okay, so in the calling method you have one test method which you have called. Okay, and here called method, that is a test method. Okay, actual test method. Now the control goes and calls this calling method, goes here and it will call the called method. Now called method, here there is an exception. Exception may be arithmetic exception. There is an arithmetic exception. Now that arithmetic exception is not handled. Arithmetic exception is not handled. So arithmetic exception is not handled here. Yes, it is not handled. Arithmetic exception is not handled. So now here the movement of exception from the called method to the calling method when the exception is not handled. Okay, when the exception is not handled is called as exception object propagation. Okay, exception object propagation. Okay, now here exception object propagation means the movement of exception from called method to calling method when the exception is not handled. When the exception is not handled is called as exception object propagation. Is called as exception object propagation. Okay. Okay, now for this let us have an example. Don't use out of index value first. Yes, Preeti, you can give this reason also. Okay, so your counselor was here. Okay, fine, no problem. Okay, so we shall create one class and class name we shall take it as a demo. Now, in this demo class, now we shall go for a main method here, and in the main method, now we shall call one test method. Method called statement called as test method, and now we shall create the test method. We shall create that test method. Public void test. Now here, okay, here we shall take the int values. Int a is equal to 10 by 0. 10 by 0. Now, see, JVM will call main method. Control comes to test method. Execution of this main method will get passed, and control will come to this test method, and here exception occurs. Okay. So your counselor is here. We'll resume back after the requirement announcement. Yes, Pushpa, you can carry on.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, guys. So this is Pushpa from announcement team. Guys, is my voice is audible to everyone? Okay, thank you. Guys, today I'm here to announce the requirements. I will be sharing my screen now, guys. Guys, I hope screen is visible to everyone. This is development and generic requirement. Please take a snap of this slide. Guys, for the development requirement, designation is software engineer. Those are completed Java, they can apply for this requirement. And salary package will be 1.5 lakh per annum for the first 6 months. Later, it will be 3 lakh per annum. And guys, for this development requirement, there is a separate link. I'm already shared this link in broadcast. Guys, for this development requirement, you have to register yourself through this link only. Okay. And guys, for the generic requirement, designation is marketing intern. It is only for MBA students. And guys, for this generic requirement, both testing and development, both students can attend. Sorry, both can apply, but it is only for MBA students. Okay, guys, I hope it's done. I am moving to the other requirements. Guys, this is testing requirement. Please take a snap of this slide. Guys, once the class is done, go through the requirements. If you are eligible for any of the requirements, within half an hour, you have to share your details to the HR in QTalk app. Your name, contact number, and company code. These details has to be shared. They will be guiding you for registration. And guys, these are all requirements also posted in QTalk app. Go through the same and contact your HR for further clarification. Okay, guys, I hope it's done. I stop sharing my screen now. If you have any queries, please let me know. Guys, please respond. Any doubts? Yes or no? Okay, others? Okay. Okay, guys. So these are updates for today class. Thank you, guys. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, guys, we'll resume back. Okay, so we were seeing exception handling. Exception object propagation. Okay, we are seeing exception object propagation here. So now here you have seen test method is being called from the main method. Now control comes to test method block, and here this statement will be executed. Okay, this statement will be executed. Now here, since it is executing and you are getting the exception here. Now here exception is not handled. Okay, exception is not handled. Now with the exception only, control goes back to the calling method. So this is called as calling method. Okay, and this is called as called method. This is called as called method. So this is calling method and this is a called method. Here we have a test method here and it is being called. Okay, it is being called. This method has been called there. Now control comes to the test method. It will come here. It will execute this statement, line number 12. Now here in this statement we have an exception. Now after we get an exception, control goes back to test method, that is calling method. Yeah, exception will work in static also. In any methods it will work. See, I have not taken non-static because I have to create an object again. Okay, so I told I have taken static. Yeah, everywhere it will work. Static or non-static, everywhere exception works. Okay. So here I don't want to create an object again for this. Again, one more step will be there. So I've taken directly static. Okay. So we have a test method here. Okay, we have a test method. It is being called. Now this is a called method and here is an exception. Now the control goes back to the calling method. Control goes back to the calling method without exception is handled. When exception is not handled, is called as exception object propagation. The moment of exception from called method to the calling method, the moment of exception from called method to calling method, when the exception is not handled, is called as exception object propagation, okay. So let us see the output. Okay. So if you can see here, we got a arithmetic exception. Reason is divide by 0. Reason is divide by 0. Okay, fine. Now if you can see the exception object propagation, from where to where exception is traveling? From line number 12 to line number 7. See, first line number 12 we got, then line number 7 we got. So this is called as exception object propagation. So movement of exception from the called method line to the calling method is called as exception object propagation. That happens when the exception is not handled. Okay, so this is about exception object propagation. Now how to solve this? How to solve this? Very easy. Okay, very easy. You can you can see exception is not handled here. No, it is not handled here. Control is coming back here. Now how to solve the exception object propagation? Very simple. Use try and catch. Okay, use a try block for this test method. Okay, use a try block for this test method. Now we shall go for a catch block. In the catch block we shall go for arithmetic exception. Okay, arithmetic exception. Now here we shall tell the reason, that is don't divide by 0. Okay, so now what happens? Exception object propagation is trying to happen. Since we have called test method, control goes here, it will execute, and with the exception it will come back. So when it is coming back, it is coming from line to line number 9. From line number 19 to line number 9, it is coming back. So currently here in the line number 9, there is an exception. In the line number 9, there is an exception. So here one exception is there, so that when it will create one throwable type object. It will create one throwable type object, and exception will be sent to the catch block. It will be thrown to the catch block. Now catch block will handle the exception, and it will tell the reason. It will give the reason, don't divide by 0. Don't divide by 0. Okay, so you get the output, that is don't divide by 0. So this is how you will handle the exception. This is how you will handle the exception. Okay, so this is about an exception handling, and this is about an exception object propagation. Exception object propagation. Okay, next. See guys, we have learnt about checked and unchecked exception. Okay, yes. So yeah, we have learnt about checked and unchecked exception. Okay, checked and unchecked exception. For unchecked exception, we have seen all this time. Okay, now let us see for checked exception. Checked exception means checked exception is a compiler aware exception. Compiler aware exception is known as a checked exception. Okay, if any statements are responsible for the exception, for this checked exception, compiler will not leave the programmer. It will force the programmer either to handle the exception or to declare the exception. Either the programmer should handle the exception, or a programmer should declare an exception. Either handle or declare, anyone should be done. Okay, here in the checked exception, here compiler aware exception is called as a checked exception. When a checked exception occurs, okay, compiler will not leave a programmer just like that. It will force the programmer to handle or declare. If both are not respected, okay, if the compiler words are not respected, it will throw an unreported compile time error. Like for example, file not found error. It will tell, when you are not obeying my orders, okay, I will tell file is only not found, go. Okay, I will tell file not found, do whatever you want. So in order to not get into this problem, we have to handle or declare an exception. Always we have to handle or declare. Anyone we have to surely do. So here now what we have to do is, we shall get one exception with the file not found exception. We shall create one code. Okay, we shall create one code for file not found exception, and now we shall see how we will get the exception. Okay, checked exception. While writing only, you will get that exception. Checked exception is a compiler aware exception. When we are just writing only, you will get the exception here. Now we shall create one class. Name is checked exception. Class name checked exception. Now here we shall have a main method. Now we shall tell hi. We shall tell bye. Now in between here we shall call one m1 method. We shall call one m1 method. Since m1 method is not there, we shall create one. Shall create one. Now we have a m1 method. We have a m1 method. Now here what we will do here is very simple. See, file input stream, file output stream, whatever is related to file, they are all checked exception. They are all checked exception. Okay. Now we shall go for file input stream from java.io package. So exception from java.io. Okay, input output exceptions we have. From java.io package, we have input output exception. So here when we are using the IO package, obviously here whatever the class name we use, it will be a checked exception. So variable fin file input stream variable fin is equal to new file input stream of Now what we have to do here is, see, file input stream is a stream which will read the data from the file. File input stream will read the data from the file. Okay. Now let us see a wrong path for a file. So here we shall mention a path which wrongly for a file. Suppose you're in C drive colon. Now we have to go for the file name abc.txt document. We don't have any abc.txt document. Honestly speaking, I have not created any file called as abc which is in a text document. Now see, just now we have written in unchecked exception, it would not show like this. In here, during compile term only it will not show like this during a unchecked exception. But since it is a checked exception, we shall handle or declare. See, now this is a checked exception, right? So I will give the cursor here. Excuse me. Okay, so what we're getting here, unhandled exception type, file not found exception. Unhandled exception type, file not found exception, because we didn't get the file. Whatever the file was there, no, whatever file mentioned here, that file is not there here. Okay. Next, here two quick fixes available. Now you can see here, you can use throws declaration or surround with try and catch. Surrounding with try and catch is how you handle. We have seen how to handle an exception till now. Now you have to add throws declaration. That means for declaring an exception, you have to learn about throws. So first let us learn about throws and we shall declare the exception there. Now guys, you have to know that, okay, throws is a keyword. Okay, throws is a keyword. Okay, and throws is used to declare the exception. See, any exception is there, what a compiler will do, it will tell the programmer to handle or declare. We know how to handle with try and catch, easily we can do, but let us see how to declare. Okay, so now using throws keyword, we shall declare the exception. That will be thrown to the caller. So here now let us understand how to declare the exception using throws. Okay, now first let us learn the syntax of it. So throws declaration, here suppose you have in a method will have a modifier, method will have a return type, method name, and a formal arguments in a method. This is a method block and we'll write a method statements here. Now here, okay, now here where we have to write the declaration part, here in the method declaration statement. In the method declaration statement, here you have to go for throws. Throws is a keyword which is used to declare the exception. Which is used to declare the exception which is to be thrown to the caller. Okay. So throws keyword should be used in method declaration statement. Should be used in method declaration statement. So here we are using throws, and what kind of exception we can throw? Throws means what? Here we are not solving the problem. Like handling, we are not handling the problem. We are throwing this problem back to the caller. What we are doing? We are throwing the problem back to the caller. Here we got one problem, okay, and we are throwing that to the caller of that method. So suppose if you are getting a file not exception here, we shall throw using throws. We'll go for file not found exception. We shall go for file not found exception. Suppose you have to throw multiple exceptions. File not found exception, arithmetic exceptions, okay, string index out of bounds exception, comma, going on, any number of exceptions you can throw. Okay, any number of exceptions you can easily throw. Okay, now if you take a method declaration statement, with the help of throws keyword, you can throw any type of exceptions. You can throw any type of exceptions. And here you have to write the statements, okay, in the method. And here the main thing is, if you want to declare an exception, you have to write throws. You have to write throws in the method declaration statement. You have to write throws in a method declaration statement. And how many ever exceptions you want to throw to the caller of the method. How many ever exceptions you have to throw to the caller of that method, that number of exceptions you can throw. Okay, that many number of exceptions you can easily throw. Okay, now here let us see it practically. So here this M1 method, here in this method declaration statement, in this M1 method declaration statement, we have to write throws keyword. Okay, we have to write throws keyword. And since we are facing a file not found exception here, since we are facing a file not found exception, here we have to go for throwing a file not found exception. We'll go for file not found exception. File not found exception. So file not found exception is from the java.io package. So we have imported it. Okay. Now here we are throwing this exception back to the caller. Okay. See, caller didn't tell to create an exception, but when we are creating a file to read the data from that file, okay, when we are creating an object to read the data from that file, we are getting a exception. That is, we are getting a file not found exception. We are getting a file not found exception. So since we are getting a file not found exception here, we have two options. Compiler will give two options, either to handle or to declare. Okay, to handle the exception or to declare the exception. Now handling, using try and catch. If you just have try and catch, you can easily handle. But we have to declare this now. Okay, we have to declare this. Now how to declare the exception? Very simple. You have to use throws keyword. Using throws, you have to throw this exception, whatever the type of exception it is creating here, that type of exceptions you have to mention inside the method declaration statement. The type of exceptions you have to mention inside a method declaration statement. So throws file not found exception. Throws file not found exception. Not only one exception, n number of exceptions you want, you can throw. Okay, whatever exceptions you want, you can throw to the caller of the method. So currently we are having only file not found exception. So we are throwing a file not found exception to the caller. So here we are throwing file not found exception to the caller, and here we are getting the error. Here we are getting the error. What is this? What is this? What we are getting here? Here we are getting error. Why? Because the exception has traveled from the M1 method, that is from line number 16 to line number 10. The exception has traveled. Okay, exception has traveled from line number 16 to line number 10. Now here we can handle or we can declare. See, we have two options. Either you can declare or you can handle. Now what we will do? We will not handle. We will not handle. Instead, we will declare. We will not handle. Instead, we will declare the exception. We will declare the exception. Okay. Now, excuse me. Now, how to declare exception? Like we have declared here, no? We have to declare here. So here we have thrown the exception to the caller. Now here, caller of the main method is JVM. Okay. Now caller of the main method is JVM. Now this JVM is a caller of main method. JVM is a caller of main method. Now here we can use throws in the method declaration statement, and we can throw the file not found exception to the JVM. Okay, file file not found exception we can throw to the JVM. JVM will not solve. Okay, it will just throw in the output. That's it. It will show in the output. Here we are not finding a solution. We are throwing the problem back to the caller. We are throwing the problem to the caller of the method. Okay. So here we called a M1 method. Control goes there. M1 method is executing. We are trying to access one file. We are trying to access one data file, and if it was correct, we would have accessed the data from that file. But since we don't have the path of this file correctly, okay, the path of this file is wrong. The address of this file is wrong. Since it is wrong, we have to handle the exception. We are getting an exception, that is file not found exception, because this file is not there. Whatever the file name we have mentioned now here within the double quote, that is not there. So since it is not there, we have to handle or declare the exception, because we are getting exception. When the file which I have written is not there, exception occurred. So we have two options, handle or declare. We know how to handle. For declaring we have used throws keyword here, and we have declared the file not found exception to the caller of the method. So caller of the method is who? The M1 method is method call statement only. It is the method call statement. Actual caller of the method is main method. So caller of the method M1 is main method. Okay. Now here we are throwing this file not found exception to the caller of the method, that is main method. We are throwing to the main method, and are getting error in M1 method, because from here only the control went. Okay. So here you are getting error. Now what we have to do? Again throw it. Okay. And now throw to the caller of this main method. So caller of this main method is JVM. So JVM is a caller of the main method. Now what happens? Since we are throwing this to JVM, we shall get no error in the code, but in the output you will get everything. Beautifully output all the exceptions you will get. Here there is no by, but all kind of exception. What is exception? File not found exception. File not found exception. These are the problems you'll get. So problem will not be solved. That is for sure. In the declaring part, problem will not be solved. In the here in the handling, okay, in the file handling, in the exception handling, okay, we shall easily handle any exceptions. But here when it comes to throws, that is declaring an exception, here we can't find a solution. In exception handling only, with a try and catch only we can find a solution, and here in the declaration we can't find, because here we are throwing the exception to the caller. Of the method. That is why control goes there, and here the exception remains the same. Okay, so this is how you can declare an exception. You can declare any number of exceptions. Suppose you want to declare a arithmetic exception. Suppose if you want to declare arithmetic exception, yes, you can declare. So here file not found exception is there, comma, you can go for arithmetic exception also. You can declare arithmetic exception also, no problem. So since we have only file not found exception, we were returning it. Any number of exceptions you can return. It's not mandatory you have to write the same exception. No, any type of exceptions you can write on. Okay. So this is how you declare the exception. Okay. So declaring the exception, this is how it is there. Okay. And next. So after this, we shall see one more keyword called as throw keyword. So yes, before going to that, guys, did you understand how to declare an exception? Explain program again. Okay, fine. So what's happening is here in the line number, okay, so So what happens whenever we run the code here? Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Whenever we run the code here, now control comes to main method because of JVM. Now the first statement executes high, next statement executes M1. Control will be pausing the execution. Control comes here M1. So it is executing this line. So in this line, we have written a file path which is not correct. We have written a path of the name of the file which is not there only. Okay. Now since the file is not there, we will get a file not found exception in the output. Now here we have two options. We can handle or we can declare. We can handle or we can declare here. So since we are declaring, we have to use throws keyword and we have to declare in a method declaration statement. Declaring means you are passing that exception to the caller of the method. You are passing that exception to the caller of the method. Okay. Now caller of this method is M1, so obviously control goes to M1. So here we have file not found exception, so we are throwing it to the caller of the method. So M1 is method call statement, but actual caller is main method. So actually main method is the caller of this method. Main method is the caller of this method. So here this main method will get an error now. Main method will get an error now. You will have no error in M1 method. You will get an error in main method now. So since you are getting error from the main method here, now here also you are throwing that problem to the caller of the main method. Caller of main method is JVM. So we are throwing the problem back to the JVM. We are throwing the problem back to the JVM. Okay. So this is how you will declare the exception. This is how you will declare the exception. Did you guys get it, everyone? Everybody understood? Okay, guys, that's good. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. So yes, guys, that's a good thing. Now, okay. So today we have done exception, multiple catch blocks, multiple exception statement with multiple catch blocks we have seen. Okay, and we have seen few programs. We have seen few programs, that is try with multiple catch, and we have seen one demo class. Okay, wherein what is the exception object propagation, and we have seen how to declare the exception. Can you take one more program? Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, so here we have a checked exception. Now what we shall do, let us create one more class. Okay, we shall go for demo exception. Class name is demo exception. Now let's go for main method. Let us go for the try and catch, because we will surely know that there will be an exception for sure. Okay, now here, okay, so we shall go for string index out of bounds exception. So let us take in string data. String yes is equal to null. Okay, now the statement which is responsible for exception, we shall write in line number. Okay, so try and catch will be handling. Okay, we'll just write it directly. So yes dot to uppercase, h dot to uppercase here. Now here what happens is very simple. Now here there is a exception. Okay, now here since there is an exception here, we don't have to handle. See, if we execute the code now, okay, now can you see null pointer exception? We are getting null pointer exception. So we got null pointer exception here. Next, okay, next what we shall do here, we don't want to handle. This is a unchecked exception. Now we don't want to handle, but we have to throws arithmetic null pointer exception to the caller of the main method. So here it is not solved. Okay, the problem is not solved, but here The problem is there, but it is been thrown to the caller. Okay, it is been thrown to the caller. So for the checked exception, for the unchecked exceptions, easily you can do it. For checked exceptions also you can do it. You can use throws for checked exception also, for unchecked exception also you can use. Okay, now here we are throwing it. See, both are same. I mean, here you are throwing the exception to the caller. Okay, and same output you're getting. So for the unchecked exception, you can take it or you can leave it. But here you have to know that this is how you declare the exception, and if you want to handle, you have to surround these statements with try and catch. You have to surround these statements with try and catch in case if you want to handle these exceptions. Okay, it is not shown to the compiler here. Okay, compiler doesn't know there is an exception. After execution only it will come to know. Okay, now here, so we are throwing it to the caller, and now what we shall do, we shall go for one more exception. Okay, so what we'll do, demo exception extension demo class, extends demo class. Now without upcasting we will do downcasting. So demo exception variable d is equal to, we shall go for downcasting, that is demo exception of new instance of demo. Okay, so here in this line you have an exception. What exception you have? You have a class cast exception. It is not shown here. First one only it is shown. Only null pointer is shown, because once after executing, the program will stop here itself. It will not execute below. Okay. Now, this is also unchecked exception only. Okay, this is also unchecked exception only. We shall go for checked one. So yeah, checked one will be better. So we have file not found exception. Okay. Okay, we shall take the same only. Okay. So yeah, we shall take advanced programs also, but there comes a multi-threading concept which you already don't know. I mean, which you don't know already. So what we shall do is we shall take the same thing, okay? Or we shall take the same, or we shall go for your one more program. Okay. Okay, so currently we will take the same, okay? Same thing we shall take currently. Later we will see. Now, here, this is the normal unchecked exception. Unchecked exception not needed, because we know unchecked exception currently it will not tell the user to handle or declare the exception. Now we shall create an exception wherein a compiler should tell. Okay, compiler should okay, so here compiler should tell to handle or to declare. So we'll go for file output stream. So file output stream variable fout is equal to new file output stream of. In the file output stream, we are taking the path of the file wherein to put the data inside that file. Now in the file output stream, we will share the data or put the data out of the file. Now we shall go for def dot txt. Okay, def dot txt file. So here comes the issue. So your compiler is telling to handle or declare. Compiler is telling to either handle or declare. So anyone, either you can handle or you can declare. So we know how to handle. Now let us go for declaring. Add throws declaration. So what throws declaration happened here? Throws file not found exception. Why is it that so? Because here we are throwing that exception to the caller of the method. Okay, so in the main method, if main method is not able to solve, it is throwing that to a parent. Exception file not found is not compatible with throws clause in demo.main method. Okay, 1 second. Okay, Okay, it is not compatible here. Okay, let it be. We shall create one method for that. We shall create a task method. Okay, in the task method here. Okay, let it be. Now we shall create it. Okay, now let us create the task method. It should be public by nature. Public static void task method. Now here we shall mention the file not found exception. We shall mean file not found exception. See, file output stream, we are trying to get the data from that file. Now here we have a problem, that is this path of the file is not correct. This path of the file, is not correct. So since the path of the file is not correct here, now we shall handle or we shall declare. We have two options. Okay, we have two options. Either we can handle or we can declare. We can handle the exception, or we can declare the exception. So since we know how to handle it, okay, using try and catch, we can easily know how to handle it. But how to declare it? Excuse me. Now how to declare it? So task method here, it will go for throws file not found exception. Why we are going for throws? Because the problem which is present here, no, since we are not finding the solution for it, we will take to the caller of the method. So since the method is not able to handle, it is throwing to the caller of the method. So caller of the method is also not able to handle, so we will go for one more throws. The throws file not found exception. File not found exception. So here what happened here? Okay, just now we have seen. Okay, we shall include one more exception here. It is not compatible. What happened? Okay, here we have a method call statement. Now main method is there. Now here, since it is not able to handle it, so it has been given to the main method. So main method will not handle, it will just declare these methods to the caller of that main, that is Java. I mean Java JRE. Okay, so JRE will come to know if we have given the proper exceptions or not. Here we have a throws. Okay, we have a file not found exception. Here we have a problem, that is not compatible with the due to demo string. Okay, it is not compatible with it, so we shall take any other exception. Okay, so okay, so we shall give one more data. File not found, checked, unchecked exception or checked exception. Unchecked we already know that. So checked, if you take okay, we have so many actually. Okay, let it be. So here file not found exception, just now we have seen for the main method. Okay, no problem. Let's execute. Error. Okay, it is throwing error. Okay, fine. Throws file not found exception. Okay, because there is a string or arguments. Okay, so instead of file not found exception, we shall get one more exception. So we shall go for file input stream. Okay, one second. So earlier we got it. We got it earlier. Okay, we have got file not found exception only. Here also we are going for file not found exception only. Okay, so file not found exception is not compatible with throws clause in demo.main method. Okay, so throws file not found exception. Then here okay, just a minute. Yeah, once again. It should not show like this file not found exception. What's happening here? So we are throwing this file not found exception to the caller of that method. If you are not handling, if you are not declaring it, obviously you will have an error here. Yeah, sometimes it might happen. The Eclipse might work improperly. Yeah, it might happen sometime. Okay, let us try one more time. So throws file not found exception. Okay, we have a task method. From here only we have called. Okay, let it be. We will save this. Okay, so let us go for restarting it as a run as administrator. Okay, we'll wait for a minute, just a minute. Okay, still it is showing error. We shall save it. What is the problem here? Main. Okay, not compatible, but how come here it is compatible? It is compatible here, but there it is not compatible. Both are the same only. Here also same main method we have given. Here also we have given the same. Okay, it will not work. Guys, it will usually work here. See, we have done here. Okay, we have done that. Whatever there was a file which was not there. Okay, so we have sent that exception to the caller of the method, that is exception object propagation. So for this main method also we got error. We used throws file not found exception. Used throws file not found exception. So here arithmetic exception is not there. We have just written it. Okay, so here also it is not there. Okay, so here it is appearing and there it is not appearing. So what we shall do is, okay, so instead of ABC we'll go for DEF. Now here we shall go for task method. Okay, we shall create one task. Okay, so internally something might have gone wrong. Okay, so it is executing now. Yeah. So you are getting a file not found exception neatly. Okay. So whatever we have written that time is also correct, but something was not right in the Eclipse. So here we were getting right. So here also it is correct only, but some inbuilt error might have happened. Okay. So this is one more example for it. So file input stream you can take, or you can go for file output stream. Not only input, you can go for file output stream also. Okay, so file input stream and file output stream. Now here, while you are inserting or updating some data in the file, okay, if you are updating some data in the file, here in the file output stream, okay, if the file is not found, you will get an exception, file not found. Then here it will be given to the caller of the method, because it's not handled here, it is thrown to just to the caller of the main method. So it will now also, it will also just go for throwing an exception to the caller, its caller. Who is the caller of main method? The JVM. Okay, so this is one more example wherein you can find the checked exception. Okay, so this is it. Okay, maybe we are using different streams. It might have also happened. It might also have happened. Okay, here we have file input stream, and here we have same file input stream only. So error was showing that here it is string, that is why it was not there. Some inbuilt problem was there. Okay, it's okay, no problem. So this is about your declaring an exception. Okay, this is how you can declare an exception. So in tomorrow class, what we will do is, in tomorrow's class, we shall find out how we can create our own exception. See, these are already inbuilt. Okay, this file not found exception, throwable class exception, exception class, runtime exception class, they are all inbuilt. In tomorrow's class, we will understand. In tomorrow's class, we'll understand how to create a customized exception. Okay, in tomorrow's class, we'll understand how to create a customized exception. Okay. No. C folder or D folder, F folder. If file is not there, it will surely give error. It doesn't matter here actually. Yes, throw and throws both are different. Throws, just now we have seen, no, throws is used to declare the exception. Throws is used to declare the exception. Throws is used to declare the exception. Throw, we will see tomorrow. Don't get confused. Throw and throws are different. Okay. Currently, you understood about throws, so neatly study and come about the throws. Okay. Now, any doubts today? Is everything clear for you? You guys are clear with everything? Let me know. Any doubts you have? You can let me know if you have any doubts. And one more thing, are you guys studying? Are today's program covered in yesterday's PDF? Yes. Yeah, few of them have covered. And in case if it is not, I will send the code, okay? I will send these programs in your QTalk. Don't worry about that. Yes, guys. Okay, so we just have 8 minutes, so we shall not waste time. We shall go for the oral mock. I mean, this is not considered, just for the time being we are doing this. Okay, so here, so very soon we will complete part 3 also. Okay, and you have to know about part 1 concept also, as well as part 2 concept also. Okay, so anyone individually can answer the question. Just 7 minutes more, we shall finish it off soon. And don't leave the class, okay, till it is 9. Okay, can anyone tell me what is a constructor? Every point should be mentioned. Okay, if you're making mistake, I'm here to correct you. Okay, so yes, anyone, can you tell me what is a constructor? You can unmute and tell. Don't just sit and write. Don't sit and type here. You can unmute and tell me neatly how to tell what is a constructor. Yes, Samiksha?
So constructor, first of all, constructor is a non-static method, and it is a special type of non-static method. Ma'am, also the constructor name and the class name is same, but constructor does not have any return type. So, ma'am, the syntax of the constructor will be access modifier, and as it does not have any return type, so it will have class name and then the formal arguments. Also, ma'am, there are two types of constructor. That is, first one is a no argument constructor, where we don't give any formal argument, and if we do not give any argument, the default constructor will be formed automatically. And then there is second one, that is parameterized constructor, where we give the formal argument. And constructor is used to first, it will, ma'am, load all the non-static members in the object block that we have created, and then it is used, then non-static initializers will be like executed from top to bottom, and then the programmer written codes, whatever it is written, it will execute. So, ma'am, this is the work of the constructor.
Yes, Samiksha, very, very good. Yes, very good. Yes, it's a good thing that you remembered everything. It's good. Yes, this is how in an interview, suppose if the about the constructor it is asked, this is how you have to tell. Yes, Samiksha, I really appreciate it. Yes, it's a good thing you remembered everything. Okay. So next. Now. Okay. So why the mark is left? Mark is left. Is your mark pending for part 2? Okay. Okay, just a minute. Let me check if it is there or not. So for the part 2, let me check here. Okay, just a minute. I'm checking here. Okay, once again. Versus E3 batch, no. Okay, once again, I'm just checking it. Samiksha, did you attend part 2? No. You should inform priorly, no? Okay, so I'll enable the link. Okay. Okay, just a minute, I will share it. Now, is it possible to do it today? Okay, it's like 9 to 10 and 10 to 11. Only oral mark left.
Ma'am, my oral mock is only left. I've
Okay, okay,
given that
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
MCQ mock, ma'am. Actually, at that day, I had, ma'am, telephonic interview. I informed you, ma'am, but I think you didn't see my message. So that's why I
Hmm.
couldn't attend the oral mock.
Okay, after that also we have conducted so many times. It's okay. We will do it in tomorrow's sessions.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that's it for today. And do go through the programs, prepare for the mock, and don't get scared for anything. If you're prepared nicely, then that scaredness will not come. And whenever a question is asked, don't leave the class. Okay. So that's it for today, guys, and we'll see you guys in tomorrow's class. Notes will be sent and go to the notes, practice the programs and everything. Okay. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's class. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye bye. Yeah, Sankit. Good night. Yes, Sanket, I am feeling better. Thank you. Okay, man. Bye bye. Good night.